At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized, so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
'Tis the season of gifting and halls to deck, and the Who's and Who Newville were in love with new tech. Where can we find Sonos and Samsung and Nintendo, they shouted. Would they find it in one place? This they questioned and doubted. When suddenly a Who yelled, Walmart's the place to start! And each Who added headphones, TVs, and games to their carts. With Walmart, their shopping was done in a flurry. They cried out, "Who knew?" and ordered their gifts in a hurry. Shop the latest tech gifts in the Walmart app.
And away we go. Episode 1214 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. We're now halfway through MLB's 2025 winter meetings. They started on Sunday, last through Wednesday, are taking place in Orlando, Florida. The talk and rumors and speculation about the Washington Nationals potentially trading starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore and or shortstop CJ Abrams continue, but so far, no actual news. So we did have this report from MLB insiders Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon of The Athletic on Monday morning, quote, "The Washington Nationals aren't simply drawing heavy interest in left-hander MacKenzie Gore. They are also getting pushed aggressively on shortstop CJ Abrams, according to people familiar with their discussions. The Nationals are open to conversations on both players, but the bar is high," league sources told The Athletic, end quote. What Nats president of baseball operations Paul Taboni does with Gore and Abrams is going to be so interesting. We'll say a lot about what Taboni truly thinks about where the Nats are on the win curve. In other words, trading Gore and Abrams suggests a restarting of the rebuild. Not trading Gore or Abrams suggests that Taboni thinks that the Nats are closer to being a good team than people may think. Personally, I do think that at least Gore is going to get traded, but we'll see. And of course, a trade doesn't have to happen during the winter meetings. It could happen at any point this offseason, could happen during spring training, could happen during the regular season prior to the MLB trade deadline. Additionally, the Nats on Monday morning put out a message from Paul Taboni to Nats fans. Among the key portions of the message, quote, "Somewhere out there, the players who will comprise the next great Washington Nationals teams are taking shape, and they will largely be developed inside our walls," end quote. Will largely be developed inside our walls. An acknowledgement of the Nats needing to get better at drafting and player development, and Paul Taboni recognizing that. Was good to read that. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Coming up on the show, a lot for you on the Washington Commanders, off them losing their 8th consecutive game to fall to 3-10 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. A 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon. We on Monday afternoon had head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference. It does look as if quarterback Jayden Daniels is not injured again. Terrific news, but perhaps the most prominent NFL insider, ESPN's Adam Schefter, he believes that the Commanders should shut down Daniels for the rest of the season. Next segment, discussion of that. The following segment, reaction to bad news on tight end Zach Ertz. He, in the loss at the Vikings, did in fact suffer a torn right ACL. Has he played his last game for the Commanders? Has he played his last NFL game, period? And does now become the time for tight end Ben Sinnott to finally step up. And the segment after that, conversation about the Commanders' awful performance in the loss at the Vikings and about the state of the Commanders' season, off comments from Quinn on Monday afternoon. Before we get to some feedback, some college basketball, Virginia now is ranked. The Cavaliers are the number 24 team in Division I men's basketball per the Associated Press Top 25 poll that came out on Monday afternoon. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Commanders, email from Navy B. Young Young writes, Navy, I honestly thought they were going to win big at Minnesota to the tune of 50 plus to 20 something. Boy, was I mistaken. Operation Lose Out, as the great song says. Stay strong, Al. There's always the Caps to follow now. Thank you for that, Navy. Very true. Thank goodness for the Capitals. So the only team out of the big four of Washington, D.C. sports doing well these days, right? You look at the Caps, Commanders, Nationals, and Wizards. Only the Caps are a good team these days. Email from Kendall Coates. Writes Kendall, this is what popped up on my Facebook on Monday. I thought this was fitting. Thank you for the email, Kendall. And what popped up on his Facebook account on Monday was a 12 years ago today post of a meme of fans at FedEx Field spelling out, quote, we suck, end quote. 12 years ago Monday was December 8th, 2013, the day of one of the worst losses in Washington history, a 45-10 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs at a snowy FedEx Field in a game featuring what I have called the special teams half from hell, the single worst half of special teams by an NFL team I have ever seen. Redskins special teams in the 2013 season were unbelievably bad, and the low point was the first half of that loss to the Chiefs. In fact, if you go by DVOA, the second worst special teams unit in the NFL over the 1950 through 2024 regular seasons was the 2013 Redskins special teams unit. The worst was the 2000 Buffalo Bills special teams unit, but the second worst was our team in 2013. Keith Burns was the Skins special teams coordinator that season. He was one and done as Skins special teams coordinator. Email from Kyle Goins. Subject, everyone needs to go, writes Kyle. Al, I'm not usually one to jump to calling for people to get fired even after some tough losses, but I believe this needs to be DQ's final season and maybe even everyone except Izzo. My reason for such a resolution is precisely this. We were a destination team coming into this season. Free agents and vets wanted to play here and probably for less money too. We looked Super Bowl bound. But now we are a smoldering dumpster fire. After a loss like this, it's hard for me to believe that DQ hasn't just lost the locker room. There are only so many times that you can hear, we're the ones who dug ourselves into this mess, and we're the ones who have to dig ourselves out. We had almost our entire starting offense out there on Sunday, and we couldn't score a single point. Our defense got violated for 98 yards and a touchdown. Not to mention, the previous game, our hardest-fought battle still resulted in a loss. No one, and I mean no one, would look at this organization and say, yeah, I want to play there. In order to make this team look legitimate again, AP is going to need to clean house and go hunt down a young offensive-minded coach, a 2017 Sean McVay. I think that the team may need to rip the Band-Aid off, let DQ go, put Kingsbury in as interim, and let the NFL know that this organization doesn't tolerate failure and that there is a position open for an aspiring head coach. I hate that I even had to pen this email. Here's to Olo 2.0. Maybe play that funky song again. I need something to pick me back up. Thanks, Al. Well, thank you for the email, Kyle. So my take on Dan Quinn has been and remains that he does not deserve to be fired for what's happening this season. A, because the number one reason for the team's terrible season is horrific injury luck. B, because Quinn did an excellent job last season. But he is not doing an excellent job this season. It is disturbing that the team has gotten blown out so many times. And there is something to keep in mind, and that is this. So something that does not get talked about a lot, but is 100% true, is that NFL owners now are richer than ever before. We in recent years in this country have had this phenomenon of a shrinking middle class. Included in that phenomenon has been rich people getting richer. And I'm not preaching politics here. I'm just telling you facts. Shrinking middle class, rich people getting richer. And so NFL owners now aren't just worth, say, $2 billion or $3 billion. No, NFL owners now are worth a lot more than that. Commanders managing partner Josh Harris per Forbes' real-time net worth as of Monday morning was worth, you ready for this? $11.1 billion. Compare that with our team's previous lead owner, Dan Snyder. He per Forbes' real-time net worth as of Monday morning was worth $4.7 billion. You might be saying, what's the difference? Being worth billions is being worth billions, and I hear you, but understand that Josh Harris is worth nearly 2.5 times what Dan Snyder is worth. The level of wealth of Josh Harris is astronomical. And so it would be a drop in the bucket for him to fire Dan Quinn or any employee of the Commanders after a season or two. This is part of why you see NFL teams move on from head coaches so quickly these days. These owners can afford to do that. Paying off the rest of Dan Quinn's contract would be nothing for Josh Harris. He could find that money between his couch cushions. Now, do I think that Josh Harris wants to be an owner who's changing head coaches every 5 minutes, a la Dan Snyder in his early years of owning the Redskins? No, I do not. Josh Harris is a smart, logical, rational, measured person, the exact opposite of Dan Snyder. But if Harris did want to move on from Dan Quinn sooner than we would have ever thought, Harris certainly could. And for Kyle, here is the song that has become a sensation, the theme song for Operation Lose Out 2.0, put together by a great listener of this podcast, Andy. Here you go.
Operation Lose Out, yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5, now we're back on track. Every Sunday, feels like deja vu, dropping L's on purpose, what else we gonna do? Take the snap, take the fall, let the future make the call. Stack the picks, trust the route, it's version 2.0, time to lose out.
Exactly. Time to lose out. Cash App. It is the best way to make sure that your financial transactions are safe. You this holiday season can stay one step ahead of scams and keep your money secure with Cash App. Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card so you can act fast if something seems off. You also can lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. And if you're about to send money to someone for a deal that's too good to be true, and Cash App flags the deal as a potential scam, Cash App will warn you before you send the money. Cash App is here for you, and for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use Cash App's exclusive code to earn some additional cash for real. Just download Cash App. Use the exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
If your appliances can't handle the holiday hosting heat, December deal drops at Lowe's makes upgrading easy. Get up to 35% off select major appliances, and rewards members save an additional $40 on the Whirlpool electric range and the over-the-range microwave. Plus, get up to 60% off select ladders so you can deck all the halls. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/10. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details.
More than 90 years after Harry and David started selling pears from their Oregon orchard, we still handpick and pack every one of our Royal Riviera pears. What makes these pears so special? Is it the single golden pear in every box that's a joy to unwrap? Or maybe it's that very first bite, as buttery, juicy, smooth, and rich as you remember. Get a taste of the best handpicked holiday gifts and get 20% off site-wide at harryanddavid.com, promo code PAIR20. That's harryanddavid.com, code PAIR20.
Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, Thank you. We assume nothing, but it does appear as if Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels is not injured again, and that is very good news. He and the team's 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon returned from a 3-game absence caused by a dislocated left elbow. He hurt the elbow, causing him to leave the game. He did not go back into the game, but head coach Dan Quinn, during his postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon, said that Daniels could have gone back into the game, but Quinn decided not to put Daniels back in the game. The Commanders on Monday announced that Daniels is scheduled to do the starting quarterback post-practice press conference this Wednesday afternoon, and Quinn, during his day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon, said that there with Daniels was soreness, but no long-term concerns. Didn't say anything definitive about Daniels for the Commanders' next game, which is at the New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1. But all of these things indicate that Daniels is not injured again and should start at the Giants. Again, we assume nothing, especially in this season of nightmare injury luck for the Commanders, but we, over the last 2 days, have gotten some good signs. So we, during Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn, and then you'll hear a follow-up back and forth between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Quinn.
For Jayden, what's the update on him? Do you expect him to practice, and is there a chance he will play Sunday?
Sure. So, he did kind of land directly, on his elbow. It's sore. The doctors evaluated him today. The good news for that, John, there's no long-term concerns, but we'll continue to monitor and, trying to take everything into account as the week goes. I don't have an update for you yet regarding playing. It's sore today, but the good news is no long-term, but I don't have an update as far as the game yet.
Nikki?
Hi, Dan. When Jayden was healthy in those first 3 quarters, how do you think he played overall?
It was good to see. I wanted to find out about a few of the lessons, Nikki, that he had his homework assignment of, using his superpower, but also protecting the team. And so, the mindfulness to do that, I thought was in the right spot. I love the, 2 weeks of practice he had leading up into that. So, not a full body of work, but there was definitely some things that were moving in the right direction, in my opinion, on that front, Nikki, that I was looking for specifically.
And you mentioned how it was your decision to not put him back in for the remainder of the game. What's sort of the balance there of making sure that he gets the time, gets the development, that you're not holding him back and making him look fragile, but, also not putting him at risk either?
Yeah, that's the balance. And kind of the one thing you don't want to have happen, like land directly on it. And so you can help on protections and, some things on running and sliding on play like that. You don't get to do that. So you're right. You're trying to find the balance of what do those reps look like? How are the lessons being applied? And then making sure you're doing it as calling it competitively to go win it, but also, with protecting the team in mind. So it's both.
All right, and off what we just heard from Dan Quinn, the discussion of whether Jayden Daniels should be shut down for the rest of the season continues. None other than ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter is a proponent of the Commanders shutting down Daniels for the rest of the season. This was Schefter on the Pat McAfee show on Monday afternoon on whether the Commanders were going to shut down Jayden Daniels for the rest of the season.
I would have thought they would have shut him down now, but I think there are people that wanted him to play, wanted him to be out there. He felt healthy. He hurt the same elbow, goes down. To me, it's an easy decision. Jayden, we appreciate you wanting to play. We understand how much you want to play. We're going to sit you down here. We're out of the playoffs. Let's start gearing up for a great season in 26. But right now, this whole season has gotten away from the Commanders. They lose Zach Ertz to a season-ending torn ACL. Jayden hurts his elbow again. Like, what are we doing? Why are we putting him out there? I know football players play. I got it. To me, a guy that's taken so much hits and had some injury issues, I'm not letting him play. That's me, but it's not my team.
Yeah, so the Commanders, as best as we can tell, are not shutting down Jayden Daniels for the rest of the season, and they should not shut down Daniels for the rest of the season. And I actually feel more strongly about this now than I did prior to the loss at the Vikings. Jayden Daniels is not a finished product. He needs work. He needs reps. He needs development. he isn't having a very good season. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, but his actual play this season has not been nearly as good as his play last season. Jayden Daniels is a second-year NFL quarterback. He is not some well-established franchise quarterback like Josh Allen or Matthew Stafford. Daniels has plenty to learn and plenty to work on. Him having an all-time great rookie season last season was phenomenal, but doesn't mean and has never meant that he's done learning and developing. And if you're worried about Daniels getting injured again in a regular season in which he already has suffered 3 injuries, I get that. I do. But the truth is that we need to find out if he, in fact, can stay healthy. And the injury risk that's in effect right now will be in effect next season, and the season after that, and the season after that, and the season after that. That is life as an NFL quarterback. Daniels, in the loss at the Vikings, went just 9 for 20 for just 78 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And 28 of Daniels' 78 passing yards came on just one play, 2nd and 6 for the Commanders at their 19 with 10:18 left in the first quarter. Daniels had a 28-yard shotgun play action completion to receiver Terry McLaurin on a completion on which 20 of the yards were air yards. Daniels on the play took a quarterback hit from Vikings interior defensive lineman and former Washington interior defensive lineman Jonathan Allen. That was a really good completion by Daniels, but that accounted for 28 of his mere 78 passing yards in the game. Daniels did take just 1 sack, and that was a scramble sack for a mere 1-yard loss. He had 4 carries for 16 yards. Each of the 4 carries was a scramble. The Commanders, with Daniels in the game, appeared to have little to no read option. That was interesting. That was perhaps an adjustment given his injuries this season. Jayden Daniels' advanced stats for the game, not good. He for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 55.7. That is below average. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. He for the game, as of games through Sunday, had a total QBR per ESPN of 11.1. That is horrible. QBR is on a scale of 0 to 100. 50 is average. He for the game per RBSDM.com had an expected points added per play of minus 0.33 and a total EPA of minus 9.0. All of this happened against, yes, a very good defense in that of the Vikings, but also, yes, with the Commanders having each of their top 3 receivers playing in the game. Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel Sr., and Noah Brown, who returned from a 10-game absence off being listed as dealing with groin and knee injuries. This was a disappointing performance, a highly disappointing performance by the Commanders' offense. The Commanders scored no points, okay? That's disappointing. So Jayden Daniels has work to do in terms of his development as a quarterback. Daniels has work to do in terms of learning how to avoid contact and stay healthy. He in this regular season has played in just 7 of the Commanders' 13 games, has left 4 of those 7 games due to getting hurt. He in this regular season has suffered 3 different injuries, a left knee injury, a right hamstring injury, and a dislocated left elbow. And I would throw this into the mix too. So the Commanders right now, for all of their problems, do have an offensive line that's doing well. So it's not like Daniels is playing behind some porous offensive line. It's not like having Daniels out there is having him playing behind an offensive line that's reeling. The Commanders' starting offensive line for a 7th consecutive game was Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Chris Paul at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Samuel Cosmi at right guard, Josh Connerly Jr. at right tackle. Each of the Commanders' starting 5 offensive linemen played at 100% of the team's offensive snaps. Tyler Biadasz for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 75.1. Laramie Tunsil for the game had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 73.8. The O-line right now is in a good place. So yeah, I want Jayden Daniels to continue to play this season if he's healthy, and that's key. I don't want him out there if he's only like 70%. As for this disjointed second NFL season for Jayden Daniels, we, during Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Howard Fenrich of the Associated Press and Quinn.
It might sort of be impossible to take the injuries, the fact that he hasn't played a lot this season, out of the equation. But if you can, with Jayden, I'm just wondering how you would grade his play this season, how you'd assess what you've seen from him this season compared to last season.
Yeah. It'd be hard to, just because, really there was just the one game before, some of the personnel around him changed. Maybe, Howard, that's probably a better way to go about it. So without a lot of banked reps together, I would say, that would affect all of us. But I think that'd be better, like in a month's time. I'll have a better assessment for you, for an entire season. I think it's too early for me to call where I'm at on that, Howard. But I would say collectively, man, our whole team, it was, like not quarterback, not like everything, was mission failure yesterday. Like not specific to one position. It was not good enough, not acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the evaluation of Jayden Daniels' second NFL season is tricky for all of the reasons that we have discussed, but the stats are down. If you just look at ESPN's total QBR, Daniels last regular season, 67.7. Daniels this regular season, 45.7. By the way, the advanced stats for Marcus Mariota in the loss at the Vikings, brutal. He came into the game in the third quarter, played on 25% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Jayden Daniels played on 75% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. Mariota for the game had an overall grade for Pro Football Focus of just 23.0. He, for the game, as of games through Sunday, had a total QBR per ESPN of 0.0. Yes, 0.0. He, for the game, per RBSDM.com, had an expected points added per play of minus 1.49 and a total EPA of minus 10.4. He only played on a total of 13 offensive snaps, so reading much of anything into these stats is silly. Mariota is a good QB too, but I got a kick out of those stats. They are horrible. Remember, Mariota, in his brief time in the game, committed 2 turnovers, an interception, and a lost fumble. Today's law group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact today's law group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the NACE Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the NACE Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The NACE Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the NACE Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The NACE Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Today's Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. Well, bad news, but not unexpected news from Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn during his day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. Tight end Zach Ertz, in the team's 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon, suffered a torn right ACL. His season is done, and if we're being honest, he may well have played his last game with the Commanders, as he, this coming off season, is set to be an unrestricted free agent, and next season will be his age 36 season. Heck, his NFL career may be done. ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, he had a post on X on Monday afternoon, had this, quote, Ertz, who turned 35 in November, had a decision to make this offseason, retire or continue playing. The choice was his. This unfortunate injury changes the equation abruptly so, end quote. Zach Ertz in the loss at the Vikings had 1 reception for 11 yards on 2 targets and playing on 69% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. The one catch that he had was a 4th down reception for a first down, 4th and 1 for the Commanders at the Vikings 37 with 10:26 left in the third quarter. Quarterback Jayden Daniels had an 11-yard shotgun completion to Ertz, but Ertz in the third quarter left the game due to suffering a torn right ACL as he, while in the air and trying to make a leaping catch, got blasted on his right leg by safety Jay Ward to where Ertz's right leg gruesomely bent backward. The Commanders initially signed Zach Ertz in March 2024, signed him as an unrestricted free agent to a one-year contract. He came to the Commanders off in recent seasons, having missed a lot of time due to injury and having struggled. Ertz in the 2020 regular season missed 5 games due to a high ankle sprain. Ertz in November 2022 suffered a torn ACL and torn MCL. Ertz in the 2023 regular season missed 5 games due to a quadriceps injury. The Arizona Cardinals released Ertz via waivers on November 30th, 2023, and what was a mutual parting of the ways. Ertz was on the Detroit Lions practice squad January 22nd, 2024 to February 5th, 2024. But Ertz for the Commanders played in all 17 of their games in the 2024 regular season and then played in all 3 of the team's games this past postseason. Ertz over 17 games in the 2024 regular season, 66 receptions for 654 yards and 7 touchdowns on 91 targets. And Ertz in the Commanders' 55-23 loss at the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game this past January 26th, had a monster game, 11 receptions for 104 yards on 16 targets, and playing on 80% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 82.0, the highest overall grade for any Commanders player who played on at least 25 offensive snaps in that game. The Commanders this past March re-signed Ertz to a one-year contract. They re-signed him before he officially became an unrestricted free agent. He over 13 games for the Commanders in this 2025 regular season, 50 receptions for 504 yards and 4 touchdowns on 72 targets. My 3 complaints with Zach Ertz. A, too many penalties. Ertz over 33 regular season and postseason games for the Commanders has been called for 12 penalties, all of which have been accepted. 10 of the penalties have been false start penalties. B, Ertz in this 2025 regular season has had too many drops/catches that could have been made but weren't. And C, Ertz over his 2 seasons with the Commanders has not been good at generating yards after catch. But Zach Ertz overall has been a positive for the Commanders, that he, up until this torn right ACL, had played in 33 of a possible 33 regular season and postseason games for the Commanders over his age 34 and age 35 seasons was super impressive. And so if he has, in fact, played his last game for the Commanders, his tenure with the team, to me, goes down as a positive. We, during Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
For Zach, like you talk about what has meant to the team, were you surprised at how much value he added in that regard? And like, what are some of the things that stood out to you most in that area?
Yeah, I thought, I just had a quick conversation with him today because I hadn't coached him before. So, you don't know somebody, and he was actually the first person, that Adam signed here. And so he has brought a lot. And I think, like, the habits, John, that's what stuck out to me more than anything, of doing the extra, not getting bored with the details, whether it was getting the jugs, footwork, the technique part of it. So there was a reason why this type of success took place. It was over and over of doing the things and not getting bored doing them. So those are the type of elite habits when you're putting a program together. You're like, okay, that's what it looks like. And I want to point that out whenever I can. So it's been significant for us, for sure. The production on the field, obviously having that, a tight end available. We knew a rookie QB was going to be coming in here to be a factor. And so he was an impact and more.
All right, so Zach Ertz being done for the season, to me, shines the spotlight squarely on Ben Sinnott. It is go time for Ben Sinnott. The Commanders have 4 games left in the NFL's 2025 regular season. Let's see Ben Sinnott shine over those 4 games. The Commanders took Sinnott in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft out of Kansas State. Sinnott was a member of the Kansas State program for 4 seasons. He, in the 2020 season, did not play in any games, but he, over his final 3 collegiate seasons, 2021 through 2023, played in 38 games, totaled 82 receptions for 1,138 yards and 10 touchdowns. He is very athletic. Sinnott registered a relative athletic score, an RAS score, a RAS score of 9.0, 5.72. That ranked number 33 out of 1,141 tight end prospects from 1987 through 2024. But Ben Sinnott, over his 2 NFL seasons, has not done much. Sinnott, over 29 NFL regular season games, has 9 receptions for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. Maybe his most famous catch was made this past postseason. He, playing in each of the Commanders' 3 games this past postseason, had 1 target, but it resulted in a 23-yard reception on a fake punt in the NFC Championship game. Ben Sinnott, in the loss at the Vikings, had 1 reception for 8 yards on 1 target and playing on 25% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He is the Commanders' TE3. John Bates is the team's TE2, but Bates, of course, is more of a blocking tight end. The idea with Sinnott is that he is a receiving tight end. Remember, he, off being drafted, was comped to one of the best receiving tight ends in Washington history, Chris Cooley. Well, Sinnott so far has not come close to being Cooley, but in fairness to Sinnott, he has been blocked by Zach Ertz. Well, not no more. I want to see Ben Sinnott play a lot over the Commanders' final 4 games of this regular season, and I want to see him do well. The team spent a second-round pick on this guy. He's a tight end. Tight ends who are good usually do not take like 2 or 3 seasons to develop. No, tight ends who are good, for the most part, are good from the get-go. Let's see if Ben Sinnott is good, and if he isn't good, if he doesn't do well over these final 4 games, then tight end unquestionably becomes a big-time need for the Commanders this coming offseason. All right, here is an outstanding book for you if you're a Washington fan, or for a Washington fan who you care about this holiday season. RFK All Access by Scott Cunningham, who served as a photographer for NFL properties for years and who photographed the Redskins extensively during their glory days in the 1980s and early 1990s. Scott, via RFK All Access, has put together a compilation of his best Redskins photos, many of which are behind-the-scenes photos. Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cook, Richie Pettibone, the Hogs, the Posse, Sonny Sam and Frank, all and so many more are featured in this book, which is 392 pages of glorious Skins history, 5 pounds of Redskins gold. If you are a serious Washington fan, if you are a Skins historian, this book is a must-have. Makes for a terrific addition to any Skins-themed man cave. Also makes for a great gift. I have the book. It is sensational. Heck, this is a book that has been endorsed by Joe Gibbs himself. Quote, "This is a great book filled with great memories," end quote. And the book now is available for an all-time low price. Take advantage of this special holiday season sale. RFK All Access. You can get the book by visiting rfkallaccess.com. And when you order the book, mention in the notes section that Al Galdi sent you. Doing that helps out this podcast a lot. That's rfkallaccess.com. rfkallaccess.com. And mention that Al Galdi sent you.
Planning a trip this year? Travel smarter and connect deeper by learning the local language with Rosetta Stone. With over 30 years of experience, Rosetta Stone's immersive, intuitive method helps you live the language, not just memorize it. Choose from over 25 languages, including Spanish, French, Japanese, and more. Their true accent speech recognition technology gives real-time feedback to help perfect your pronunciation. No translations, just natural learning that builds from words to phrases to full conversations. Whether you have 5 minutes or an hour, you can learn anytime on desktop or mobile. Get a lifetime membership and unlock all 25 languages. Learn as much as you want, whenever you want. Rosetta Stone. Learn confidently. Connect authentically. Don't wait. Unlock your language learning potential now. Listeners can grab Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for life. Visit rosettastone.com/pod50 to get started and claim your 50% off today. Don't miss out. Go to rosettastone.com/pod50 and start learning today.
DSW, birthplace of the humble brag. Here, the shoes are so good, no one would ever know how little you paid. If you didn't go telling everyone, that is. And with never-ending options for every style, mood, and occasion, all at really great prices. We'll definitely give you something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands. Or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
If you are listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them. More now on the Washington Commanders off their 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon and off head coach Dan Quinn's day after the game press conference on Monday afternoon. A lot of conversation during the presser about the Commanders' horrendous performance in the game and about the state of the team's season. So the Commanders now have lost 8 consecutive games. The Commanders in the NFL's 2025 regular season now are 3-10 with a point differential of -92. They are tied with the Arizona Cardinals and New Orleans Saints for the second worst record in the NFC, and the Commanders have the second worst point differential in the NFC. 5 of the Commanders' 10 losses have been by at least 21 points. It's not just that the team is losing, it's that the team routinely is getting smashed. Yes, the Commanders have been walloped by injury, but also, yes, getting walloped by injury does not excuse routinely getting blown out. And specific to this past Sunday afternoon, the Commanders got blown out at a bad team. The Vikings for this regular season, even with this win, are 5-8 with a point differential of -26. In fact, the Vikings became the first team in an NFL regular season to win via shutout off having lost via shutout since the Denver Broncos in September 1992. And speaking of the Broncos, this 31-0 loss at the Vikings came off the Commanders' encouraging 27-26 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 30th, right? So much for those good vibes. So we on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Tom Shad of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
And you kind of alluded to this yesterday, but coming off the performance against Denver and then taking steps back, do you think there was any sort of, I don't know, emotional hangover or motivational hangover kind of coming off a tough loss like that?
Yeah, I think you want to look at everything. You know, Tom and I were trying to put my finger on it last night and today, just coming out not with the same energy, intensity, finishing ability. Like defensively, run that would go for 2 and for 5. Those are ones that I wanted to see, that type of physicality, to see that part to go. And so when it's not there, man, it's easy to notice that play style. And so even if that's the case, that's our job. That's the gig, to get back up and get into that space again. And so for us not to hit that, you can certainly understand how the meeting went today, knowing like how frustrated we are with that standard with ourselves. And it's either it is or it's not. And we missed it by a lot. So I thought maybe in the last week, or 2 games, a step or 2 forward. But this one was certainly a step backwards. I'd agree with that. As the emotional part goes, it felt that way. I can't put my marker on that to say that was it, but it definitely felt something like that, Tom.
Well, if in fact the Commanders in their loss at the Vikings were plagued by an emotional hangover from the overtime loss to the Broncos, shame on the Commanders. That, to me, would be so soft. The Commanders not playing well at the Vikings because the Commanders were hungover, were feeling sad, were caught up in their feelings about the overtime loss to the Broncos. Let us hope that was not the case. This is the NFL. It moves quickly. Each game is its own entity. Seasons and careers are short. There's no time to be hungover over a close loss, and most NFL players get that. I hope like heck the team was not hungover. That would not speak well for the culture of our team. But regarding the culture, yes, that thing, the culture. All of these blowout losses, what the heck is going on? I do believe that injuries are the number one reason for this atrocious Commanders season. I do not believe that General Manager Adam Peters or Head Coach Dan Quinn should be fired, but I am disappointed and disturbed by the fact that so many of these losses have been so bad. This does not reflect well on Peters, Quinn, or the players. A truly great culture would provide better performances and a few more wins, even in a season in which the team has had horrible injury luck. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, obviously, if you could fix it, you would, but I wonder what you think about why in so many of these losses you haven't been competitive. Like even last year when you lost games, it was one possession, it was fourth quarter, it was the end of the game. But in so many of these losses this year, you all haven't even been competitive.
Agreed. Man, do I agree. That's been like highly frustrating to miss the mark by so much. When you're in a competitive game, you're down for the fight and you're in it all the way to the end, you feel into that space. So not finding that rhythm together and not forcing someone else to get out of theirs is a big part of that. Sometimes you feel, okay, it's tighter and the margins get even smaller and you can feel yourself not making the plays that you need to go make. But it's a big topic for me. It's one that I'm digging in hard on, obviously, to find why, to make sure that, that's our cause together, man, to make sure, that we are never in this situation again.
And along that line, Dan, I mean, do you, and I know you have a month of games left, so I know you still have to prepare for those games, but does this cause you to think about how you and Adam put this roster together in the first place, and if something needs to change about that going forward in terms of how you put it together?
Sure. Yeah, we have discussions about the roster and the team a lot. And it's not something that even though it's, like you said, the 4 games left and it's a competitive one in that space with all being in the division, which I think is a good way to go. But no, definitely something that we talk about, we communicate about when the results are what they are, DA. It's worth digging under every rock to find the right balance, the right attitude. And so, yes, we've had those discussions for sure.
Well, good for Dan Quinn for not shying away from that first question about the Commanders not even being competitive in so many of their losses this season. When it comes to the conversations that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are having about the roster, boy, would it be interesting to know what's being said and how what is being said is being said. Big-time change, at the very least, is coming for the defense in terms of the roster. I think it's safe to say that. I think that we could be looking at 6, 7, 8, 9 new starters for the team on defense come week 1 of the 2026 regular season. I don't think that that's ridiculous at all. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, just to follow up kind of on DA's question there. Understanding you have the 4 games left, what is your timeline for the evaluation? I mean, you've already made one fairly significant coaching switch in season. What does the timeline look like all right, we got to figure out what we got, what we don't have, both staff and personnel?
Yeah, it's definitely underway, JP. I can tell you that, because we want to make sure that we're evaluating, we're digging into to see those things. And already you can see, how do we feature players? How would we do things the same? How would we do things differently? So it's something that, he and I talk a lot about at great length, like you said, staff-wise, player-wise. So it's not something that, we're waiting till, postseason to begin that for sure is fully underway. And also a performance like yesterday, man, that sets you back, that stings, that's, one that you want to get back to things right away because we missed it by a mile.
And then with Hard Knocks, we get to kind of see the moments after the game. And the moments after that Denver game, you gave this now pretty well-known quote of "we lost, but we're not lost anymore." What is the messaging coming out of the Minnesota game with that in mind?
Yeah. Talking to the team, I just mainly said to JP that all of us, everybody in this room, the effort of what has to take place has to be proportionate to what we need to do, because this brotherhood can never be in this position again. And so that's every person for these 4 weeks, finding that edge, finding that spark, finding what needs to get done. So we never find our way into this space again. Watching January and February football sucks. We're the ones that did that. And we've got to make sure that we do everything in our power individually by the unit to make sure that these 4 weeks matter and it's important. And we got to go find those edges.
So the 4 games that are left for the Commanders in this regular season are all NFC East games. At the New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1. Home to the Philadelphia Eagles on Saturday evening, December 20th at 5. Home to the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday afternoon, December 25th, Christmas at 1. And at the Eagles in Week 18, day and time to be announced. It is odd. The Commanders are a putrid 1-7 in the NFC, but are 1-1 in the NFC East. 4 divisional games are left, but they mean nothing in terms of postseason contention for the Commanders. So the loss at the Vikings officially eliminated the Commanders from NFC East contention. This off the team already having been eliminated from wildcard contention. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, I'm sure you're well aware this fan base is pretty ticked off right now. 8-game losing streak. What reassurances can you give that this will not carry over into next season and that you and your staff will be able to fix what's going on here?
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more with them, and we feel exactly the same how upset we are, Scott. And so it's so important. We know what this organization means to the fan base, and so for us to have a performance like that and to have results like we've had, nobody is happy. And so we want to hit to those standards that we want to get to. And that's why over these 4 weeks, there's a lot to gain, man. And we're going to dig in hard to find the right spots, the right people, the right places, and we're going to work our ass off to do that. You can count on that.
So with that loss to Minnesota, Dan, this team's officially out of playoff contention. In last year, you're 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl. So the juxtaposition there, what is that feeling like? Still 4 games left, and you know your season is not going anywhere past January, February.
Yeah. Once you get to, having to watch January, February football, like that sucks. And so you want to make sure, Scott, that you're doing everything you can in your power to set us up to never be in this spot again. And with these 4 games against the division, they all matter, man. And so here it is, first one right against, at New York. And so going into that space, 4 division games, you also get to play them twice a year. And although we might not be playing in like I said, in the postseason, January, February, it matters, man. Like to make sure we always know how we get down. And so it's been frustrating. It's been emotional. It's been all of those things. But we have to get that part handled, Scott.
Yeah, and this game at the Giants this Sunday afternoon, a big game regarding the 2026 NFL Draft. The 3-10 Commanders are in possession of the number 6 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The 2-11 Giants are in possession of the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. A bunch of teams are bunched in tight, that is true, but the Commanders are 1 game out from having the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. A huge game this Sunday afternoon for Operation Loseout 2.0. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Wednesday's show, episode 1215, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll talk Virginia basketball. The number 24 Cavaliers are home to Maryland Eastern Shore. Tuesday night at 7. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Man, our whole team, it was, like not quarterback, not like everything, was mission failure yesterday, like not specific to one position. It was not good enough, not acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
Welcome to Walgreens. Looking for a holiday gift?
Sort of. My cousin Freddie showed up to surprise us.
Oh, sounds like a real nice surprise.
Exactly. So now I have to get him a gift, but I haven't gotten my bonus yet. So if we could make it something really nice, but also not break the bank, that'd be perfect.
How about a Keurig for 50% off?
Bingo.
Savings all season. The holiday road is long. We're with you all the way. Walgreens. Offer valid November 26th through December 27th. Exclusions apply.